James Reeves, huge Daniel Defense fan. I've been shilling pretty hard for the Daniel Defense H9 recently, but don't mistake the fact that I'm making content about this gun to be an endorsement of this gun. After all, I ran a technical sneak preview on the Daniel Defense H9 before anyone outside of the company, myself included, had handled it. That video is on TFB TV. You also saw my interview with Mike, one of Daniel Defense's engineers, at SHOT Show when I interviewed him on TFB TV Showtime. At that time, I'd only put about 100 rounds through a demo copy of the gun just before the cameras started rolling. Point being, you guys are all really excited or really pissed off about this pistol because of what it is and what it could be. And I'm learning about it along with you. To those ends, today we've got a full review. I ran 1,020 rounds of 9mm through this H9 in one range session without cleaning it to see how it holds up. First, what's the Daniel Defense H9? I'm going to keep it brief because I've already done two relatively in-depth technical videos on the specs for this gun. Briefly, Daniel Defense bought the intellectual property for the Hudson H9, which was released back in 2017. The Hudson H9 was revolutionary because the pistol offered perhaps the lowest bore axis in a pistol with a conventional barrel over recoil assembly setup. Theoretically, this should mean less felt recoil, but we'll talk about that later. The original Hudson H9 was beset by a number of issues, so Daniel Defense spends 4 years redesigning this pistol, a redesign so comprehensive, in fact, that there's only one part from the original H9 that's still interchangeable with the new H9. In addition to low bore axis, you get a 1911 style trigger and a slim striker-fired handgun package. It's a true straight-to-the-rear 1911 type trigger assembly. The H9 incredibly slim at just 1 inch thick, 1.2 inches thick at the widest point of the gun, the ambidextrous slide release. Relatedly, I would love to see an upgrade part where I can switch this out to a right hand only slide release, making the overall silhouette slimmer and not subjecting me to any left-handed chicanery. It's an all-metal gun. You've got a steel slide on top of an aluminum frame. It weighs 29 ounces, which is about 6 ounces heavier than a Glock 19. Here's a comparison side by side with the Glock 19. You can see roughly the same size. However, it's got a 4¼ inch barrel right between the Glock 17 and 19. It's got the same 15+1 capacity as the Glock 19. The same general silhouette as the Glock 19, although it's a bit slimmer with a longer barrel. And here's another real quick comparison with the outstanding SIG P365 macro as well. It looks like the H9 is a little bit shorter than the macro, but they're about the same width, which is amazing. The H9 comes with interchangeable grips, optics ready through a plate system, includes modified Hackathorn style night sights out of the box, that is to say, a blacked out rear sight with a high visibility front sight, fiber optic, of course. Given the capacity and how slim this pistol is, obviously Daniel Defense wants to cater to the concealed handgun market with this. To those ends, they've already coordinated with a number of holster manufacturers, so holsters will be available, if not immediately, then shortly. For this video, I used a TXC inside the waistband holster. Let's see, it's right here. Daniel Defense sent this to me for my review. I'd never heard of this company before this review, but the holster is actually quite nice. Not my style, as it's a little bit bulky. It's got this built-in wedge a la Tenacore. Carrying styles and clothing are so subjective that you should take this with a grain of salt. But for me, as you can see here with appendix carry, it's a bit bulky. But then again, I dress and look like a way past my prime Backstreet Boy, so it may work for you, even if it doesn't work for me. Now, on the other hand, strong side 4 o'clock carry is chef's kiss. This combo vanishes under even my half-size 2-type 511 Tri-Blend Legacy long sleeve. By the way, 511 has sponsored TFB TV for years, so if you like these shirts, check the description. I wouldn't tell you they were good if I didn't believe it. If Daniel Defense is serious about gunning for the concealed handgun market, they may want to consider a polymer frame, maybe a slightly abbreviated frame, like something in the SIG P365 XL grip size for future models. Fortunately, the Daniel Defense H9 uses a serialized frame insert, so if Daniel Defense does ultimately end up releasing a polymer frame or a steel one or whatever, or if one of you yahoos out there decides to make one with your 3D printer, you don't have to buy a new gun. You just buy the grip or you can make it yourself, slap the insert in, boom, you're done. That's your brief overview of this pistol and what it is. Now let's get started with the full review. If you want more details about this gun, go to TFB TV or TFB TV Showtime. As mentioned, I go to the best gun range in St. Bernard Parish, all of St. Bernard Parish, the Neutral Ground Gun Company. I opened my review copy of the Hudson H9 for the very first time. I lubed the frame rails with Drnč, the Serbian military's official lube, and I installed the new Trijicon RMR HD. There are a lot of good pistol optics available today, but the RMR is tough as shit and more than capable of surviving this test. Okay, I just name dropped a bunch of brands, so you're probably thinking, who is he shilling for? I have no financial relationship with Daniel Defense or this holster manufacturer or Trijicon. I happen to love the Serbs, so I think Drnč is great. 511 is my only sponsor that I'm dealing with in this video, so this is all my opinion, not bought and paid for. You guys actually pay for it on Subscribestar or Player. I paid for the ammo I used in this test out of my own pocket. Do me a favor, head on over to subscribestar.com/TFBTV. Support us there. If you're supporting us at the $5 level or higher, you are automatically entered to win one of 10 gift certificates that we give away. We give away 6 $250 gift certificates to Top Gun Supply, your online shooting sports superstore, every single month, and 4 $100 gift certificates to Blue Alpha every single month, but you have to be a member on Subscribestar in order to win. If you like slim pistols or even 1911 style pistols, this one's going to feel great for you. Ergonomics and grip angle, very similar to the 1911. Actually very good. The G10 grips, grippy as shit. The gun looks great, although that is, of course, subjective. The trigger's very good as well. It's a little bit like a single action only 1911, not too light. My copy measured 6 pounds, but because of how short the trigger pull and the reset are, it doesn't feel like 6 pounds. It's got a little bit of squish to it right there, right before it breaks. A regular 1911 single action only trigger, at least a good one, cleanly breaks. It's binary. It's on or it's off, right? With the Daniel Defense H9, you get the slightest squish, kind of a small glocky squish, but more abbreviated. The trigger's very good. I had 3 mags with me, and I want everyone to pay close attention right now. No matter how you feel about this pistol, Daniel Defense sells its proprietary magazines for $25. No, I'm not drunk yet. This is just the first company in the history of the world to sell proprietary magazines for $25 from their own website, adjusted for inflation. I think Daniel Defense deserves recognition for that. Remember when the MPX came out and SIG wanted $70 for plastic Lancer mags? Absolute bullshit. I used 4 different types of ammo in this test because I seriously have 2.5 times the amount of lead in my blood that I'm supposed to have. Get that shit checked out, fellas. Seriously, get your blood tested. I used 800 rounds of S&B 115 grain non-tox, 100 rounds each of Federal Ballistic Clean frangible 70 grain, Norma 94 grain lead-free frangible, and a box of 20 Federal HST 124 grain hollow points. Scratch that, we only ran a few magazines of the Norma frangible. The H9 just didn't want to run it. That said, frangible ammo is notoriously hit or miss, so I'm not getting bent out of shape about this at all, saying, oh man, the H9's crap because it won't run this type of frangible. Most of the review was with S&B, which was not frangible. Accuracy was excellent. Most shooting was around 7 yards. If you look at some of these clips, it's wild how accurate this gun is. 30 rounds. 20 feet. Look at this. Holy shit. Balls, this thing is accurate. 7 yards, that group I just shot, rapid fire. Jeez H. The trigger, the optic, the ergos, the low felt recoil combined meant that this is one of the more accurate stock pistols I've shot. Now about that recoil. In my mind, there is indeed lower felt recoil because of the lower bore axis. However, I did shoot a slow-mo video of the H9 with the Glock 19 overlaid. There doesn't seem to be much difference here, although this is totally unscientific. Either way, it's a fantastic pistol to shoot. I felt like it had less felt recoil. Maybe it didn't. Could be placebo effect. I don't know. But I shot the gun until it got hot. And by the end of the review, you might even notice some burns on my little tum-tum from the scalding slide going in and out of the holster. This gun got dry and dirty real quick. I had a handful of malfunctions with non-frangible ammo. I had one failure to feed non-frangible in the first couple hundred rounds. The round just got hung up on its way into the chamber. There was only one other similar failure to feed, and that was when the last round in a magazine failed to go home. I didn't even notice it because I thought the gun was empty. The other 2 or 3 issues were the gun failing to go completely into battery from slide lock. It didn't happen when I would rack the slide manually, but when the gun got dirty, it felt like the slide didn't have enough torque to go all the way home when the slide release lever was used. Right there, that was very forceful, but now I've cleaned this gun. And when it was dirty, it was, you could tell it was hesitating just a little bit. Back in college, I called that the old rope push. You could feel it get incrementally worse the dirtier the gun got, with each release of the slide lock lever feeling less and less forceful. Just for the hell of it, I ran 20 rounds of HST hollow points after I put 1,000 rounds through the gun. That all ran without a hitch. I bitch about plates for optics mounting, and I have in the past. While they are nice that they offer versatility, and in some situations are even necessary if the slide's too thin to support an optic screw pattern, they are an additional potential point of failure as you're screwing an optic into a metal plate and you're screwing that plate into the gun. Plus they raise the optic height, meaning that I couldn't co-witness my iron sights with my RMR in place. Another plate issue reared its ugly head in this review. With plates, you're often using very shallow screws because the screw depth obviously can't exceed the depth of the plate in most cases. Plates are pretty thin. That means that every 100 to 200 rounds, the RMR started wobbling a little bit and I would have to torque it back down. Maybe I was using shitty screws, even though they had some thread locker on them, but I would definitely make sure to Loctite your optic. 2 failures to feed in about 1,000 rounds. One when the gun was brand new, one when the H9 was filthy and unlubricated. I also had 2 or 3 failures to go completely into battery when using the slide release lever, but that was also in the last few boxes of the test when the H9 was filthy. So I'm reluctant to say like, hey, this was a good result or this was a bad result because it's relative. If you ignore the non-firing failures of the slide release to slam home towards the end of the test, you're talking about 500 rounds, mean rounds, between firing stoppages. During the M9 pistol trials, the government established a reliability benchmark of 495 mean rounds between stoppages for a gun to be considered reliable. It looks like the H9 met that. Anyways, the video documented shooting of 1,000 rounds straight in one range session so rarely occurs. It's hard to say one way or another that 2 failures was a good result or a bad result relative to other pistols, but you can be the judge of that. I would agree with the XM9 rule that about 500 mean rounds between stoppages or 99.8% reliability can be called reliable. Now you're asking me, James, should I buy the Daniel Defense H9 if I'm interested in it? Sure, it's soft shooting, it's accurate, looks good. It's thin. Wish I had the time and money to run another 1,000 rounds through it after I clean it up and lube it, because I bet it's nice and broken in at this point, and it is a really fun pistol to shoot. What about carrying it? It's easy to carry, surprisingly, but that's a trickier question. On one hand, it does shoot well and carry well with its extremely slim build, and for an all-metal gun, it's reasonably lightweight. Ergos are great, the controls are great, there are good holsters available for it already, it seems, and so on. On the other hand, even though I would consider it reliable, I found it to be pickier than my Glocks or SIGs and even the shockingly hardy Springfield Echelon. I've never subjected a Glock to a 1,000 round burn down that I can remember, but I know my SIG P365 made it through 2,500 rounds without cleaning and only had 2 malfunctions. The Echelon was throttled at Thunder Ranch and hit 3,000 rounds in a weekend without a single malfunction. Conventional wisdom would say that maybe you shouldn't rush to throw away your current carry gun, even if you like the H9 better on paper or after you hit the range. If you've got a carry gun you're committed to already, You'll have to look at the feature set and the performance of the H9 and determine for yourself if this will unseat your current carry gun. If you aren't committed to a carry gun and you like the H9, sure, pick up a copy. Try it out. If you don't like it, get something else. Picking a new gun like this is like dating a new woman. You got to spend time with her to find out if you like her. But unlike a woman, if you change your mind, no matter how far down the road, you can get rid of your H9. It won't take the kids, it won't take half your money, and it won't tell all your mutual friends that you've got a small pecker. You want to see more torture tests like this? Tell me what you want to see. I paid for all this ammo out of pocket. Ventura Munitions is our sponsor for TFB TV, but this video is on my personal channel. I could only afford to buy this ammo because of you supporters. I didn't accept any compensation from Daniel Defense or anybody else that was mentioned in this video for this review, and I can be independent because you support me on Subscribestar. So please, once again, I give you something back. Sign up at the $5 level or higher, and you could win one of the 10 gift certificates that we give away, in addition to a bunch of fun raffles we have all the time. In fact, I think next week I am going to be giving away the actual backpack I was wearing at SHOT Show, along with a bunch of patches, stickers, and goodies that I've stuffed it with. But thank you so much for watching, guys. What do you think of the Daniel Defense H9? Let me know in the comments. Take care.